This video is sponsored by Milanote. I was really surprised by how well my How Not to Make a Short Film video did. And in that video, what I did is I shared a lot of my kind of mistakes, experiences, and failures that I've had along the way of working on a short film in hopes that you could learn from them and maybe avoid some of the same mistakes I made up front. So as I've kind of moved forward into production and kind of trying to finish up the script and other elements like that, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Yet again, that could have been avoided if I had have approached things differently from the beginning. So in this video, we're going to kind of cover some of those mistakes and hopefully you find them helpful. But in the first half, we're going to focus on story structure and how you could possibly approach that a bit easier. And then we're going to talk about some script writing, storyboarding, organization tools, which are free. And then after that, we'll be diving into Blender and we're going to be talking about a lot of production techniques and time-saving techniques. So with that being said, let's dive in and get started. First with story structure. So a lot of people have a hard time learning how to approach their story structure. What ends up happening is they start to write their story. They get kind of hung up on a plot point and then they get stuck and don't know where to go from there. Or you just kind of move through your story and then realize that something's kind of missing. It doesn't feel complete. So a great way to kind of help you overcome those challenges is to take a look at Dan Harmon's Story Circle. Now, Dan Harmon is the creator of Community and Rick and Morty and some other ventures as well. And he has a video where he explains this in depth. So what I'm going to do is give you a quick overview of it in this video, and then I'll link to this full video in the description below if you'd like to learn more. The general structure of the story circle is you, need, go, search, find, take, return, and changed. Each one of these represents a different point in your character's journey throughout the story. So I think it'd be helpful to kind of go through each step and give you a brief explanation of what they are. Maybe you've filled out some of these points and you're struggling to fill out the others, and hopefully this will kind of help give you an idea. So the first step in the circle is you, and this is when your character is kind of in a zone that they're familiar with or comfortable with. So this would be your characters at home, and there's really no need to change at this moment. The next step is need, and that says your character needs something or wants something. This could be that they want to change something about themselves, that they would like to achieve something, or that maybe they want to save something. Next up on the list is go, which means that they are pushed out of their familiar situation. So they're pushed out of their comfort zone or their home. And this may be by their own doing, another character's doing, or maybe an environmental change that kind of forces them out. So the next phase is search, and this is the part where your character has to learn to adapt to the new situation if they want to achieve what they want or if they want to survive in this new situation. Usually the character does not do this willingly, usually it is forced upon them, and that creates more interesting conflict. Or oftentimes in some films, there will be other characters to assist your character in this process and encourage them to adapt in the new environment. Next is the find phase, and in this phase we return to our need from to, because in the find phase our character finally gets what they wanted. However, this pushes us into the take phase, which means that our character got what they wanted, but at a heavy price. This could be that they lost a loved one, or that they had to give up something very dear to them, or they themselves may have suffered injury along the way in order to achieve their goal and desires. The next phase is return. Now that they've achieved what they've wanted and they've paid a heavy price for it, they can finally return to their familiar situation from phase one. The last phase is called change, and because we've gone through this journey along the way, when our character returns to their familiar situation, they will have changed. So I feel like this next one might be obvious to a lot of people, but it took me some time to figure out, so I'm going to share it. But always be writing, and I found the easiest way to do that is to keep a journal nearby. And if I just open this up, you can see that I just have so many just pages of just text and little doodles and things in there like that. And what I found is that I would oftentimes sit down trying to kind of think of the entire kind of story properly and how to move forward with that story or the character and getting focused on some details. But then I would end up just freezing up because I couldn't answer all the big questions right away. So when I started writing in this journal, what I did is just jot down notes as I had them, and I would tag them as either story or character notes. And I found that by just continuously jotting down notes and keeping this journal near me, that I was actually making much more progress than sitting down and trying to generate a focus section. And then over time, what happened is a story started to develop. And at this point, the story was really messy and it didn't make much sense, but I had a lot more information that I felt like it was time to kind of get to a point where I needed to put it somewhere to organize it. Milanote is a visual tool for organizing your ideas and notes, and it's important to always be writing and jotting down ideas as you're getting started. You may throw ideas away, but sometimes you may return to an idea you had a year ago. I tend to get started on paper, I doodle a lot, jot down random notes in my journal, and then after a while it starts to come together as I fill out my sketchbook and notebooks. Then it comes time to organize it all, which is nearly impossible to do on paper. So I started looking towards digital solutions, and the problem I found is most apps are spread out and only good at one thing. And when Milanote reached out to me, Milanote is designed to replicate the feelings of working on a wall like in a creative studio, a place to collect your ideas and inspiration and make sense of it all as it grows. Now, before you skip ahead, because it's a sponsor segment, there is a free version with no time limit, and you can use it, which is pretty robust, and it gives you most of the features. I only accepted Milanote as a sponsor because I truly found this product useful for myself. So what I love about Milanote is that it's easy for organizing messy thoughts as a flexible tool set. I've moved my mood boards over to Milanote for reference. I've tossed a lot of my ideas down in a board as individual notes where I can begin organizing them in order, adding structure where required, and making adjustments. Now I'm using it to start tossing down my storyboard images and ideas. It's a flexible tool that really helps give you a bird's eye view of your entire project, which for me has always been the hardest part, organizing my thoughts. I also love the template formats that quickly save me time on building out the structure of a board. There are over 100 built-in templates for almost every creative discipline, and as I mentioned, there's a free version which gives you access to most of the product, so sign up using the link in the description if you want to check it out. Do you use these? They're nonlinear animation clips. And what it does is it basically allows you to take little animated clips that you've made and then you can edit them together. So you can see here that I've created an idle, a question, an idle prompt, and then I have these edited together where I've taken these little clips of animation and you can actually repeat these and loop these and reverse these and all these other options up here. And then you can place them on top of each other and blend them. So you have like replace, combine, add, subtract, multiply. And what I can do is make this blend in with the other. So you can see here that this little line here is a representation of it kind of blending from one clip to the other, as you can kind of see over here with the character animation. And what this is great is that you can take your character and you can create things like walk cycles, jump cycles, death cycles, happy cycles, whatever you want to create. And then you can go ahead and edit them together in your scenes. And then down here in the dope sheet, you can switch over to the action editor, which I've done here, and you can actually tab into these actions here. So I can go ahead and tab into this idle animation here, and I can go ahead and edit that idle animation and make changes on the fly. And the great thing is that if you save this into a master character file, when you go ahead and append your character into the scene, it will import all of these clips. But I found this to be an incredible way to save a ton of time. And I never got into it before because it seemed like a lot of work up front, but I was amazed at how much time it saved me after I had already completed it. So I used to kind of avoid this next feature because it kind of intimidated me as I didn't know how to use it, but it's actually pretty simple. So a lot of people, when they go to import assets into their scene, they go to File, Append, and then they will append that asset into their scene, creating an instance where they can work on it. But I've learned to really love the linking option. And part of the reason I avoided this is because I'd heard that it could be glitchy at times, but I know that in recent versions of Blender, they've worked really hard on this. So if I go ahead and I link instead of append, I can go ahead and import my character and my scene. And the cool thing about this is that any change I make here to my character will be reflected over here. And where I found this is great is that before I was file appending all my characters, and then I'd go ahead and make a change to the rig of my character or the textures of my character, and then I'd have to re-import it and try and kind of reattach the animation to the new character. And it just ended up being this entire mess, as opposed to, for example, let's say that I take this psych wall here and I want to change it to red. And then I hit save and I come over here where it's linked and I come under the Blender file. I can go ahead, grab that link, hit reload, and you'll see that it updates in my scene. So what you can do is then link to your scene, have a master file of your character or your objects, make your changes there. Now I have found that this can be prone to breaking when you're moving objects around, but all you do is you come up to here, instead of view layer, you grab Blender file, you scroll down to the bottom, it'll show your linked project files, and you can right click and hit relocate. And then you can just navigate to wherever that file is and it'll relocate all the links. Of course, you can't change everything and have it properly work on a link, but you can do a lot of basic things and save a lot of time just using linking and really kind of future proofing your production so you can get started on character animation and then maybe return to texturing later just to kind of give yourself a break, and you can just update all your files at once. Now, you're already familiar with the asset browser, which I'm going to take a moment and plug my new asset pack out right now, which is asset browser compatible with over 100 assets. But moving on, the asset browser is incredible for dragging and dropping materials, objects, or anything in your scene, really. And you can mark almost anything as an asset. Most people already know this, of course, but I mostly see it being used for objects and materials. But what I find very useful is you can also store lighting setups, world setups, and more. So what I do is I use this a lot to drag and drop a lot of utilities, preset worlds, and more into my scenes. This gives me quick lighting setups or common HDRIs to kickstart my scenes, and it's a minor element, but it saves a lot of time in the long run when I'm kind of doing the same thing over and over in new projects. Another big feature people aren't as familiar with is the pose library, and this is kind of been melded into the asset browser. It used to be elsewhere. So you can actually store character poses in the asset browser and apply them to your character. This is great because you can save different poses too. So you can save hand poses, facial poses, body poses, and combine them all. There's also a cool pose tool which lets you scroll between poses. Combining this method with the non-linear editor, you can actually begin to automate a lot of the tedium of animation and instead focus on creating better animations. So this next section's kind of boring, and I'm sorry, but it's about folder structure. But understanding your folder structure is huge. So the mistake I made is I made a very clean, organized folder structure, but I didn't account for future revisions. So if you account for the fact that you're going to make changes in your story in the future, you can make it much easier on yourself. So let's dive into Blender and look at a basic file structure to really set up here. So first, what I like to do is I'll use an underscore for anything I want to appear at the top of the list. So for example, the renders folder is something that I'm going to use quite a bit, which is where I'm going to render everything from Blender. And you can see here that if I double tap in here, I have all my scene labels, which we'll talk about that in a moment. Coming back out here, I always think that it's excellent to have an assets folder, and within that to have that organized. Some common examples are audio, images, materials, and objects. This is also where I'll place things like asset packs or reference images and things like that, which I'll be importing into all of my other projects. Here we have a cache folder. If you're doing anything with physics or baking, I'll usually want to point it to that cache folder. Documents is kind of self-explanatory. Next up, I have footage. So you may wonder why I have a render section and a footage section. And that's because oftentimes the render section is kind of raw files from Blender, and I will then go through a compositing pass and re-render those before editing those. Now the project files folder, whatever software you use here, you can kind of create projects folders and keep it organized that way. Diving into the Blender folder, I generally have all my project files separated into different options here. So I'll have a character folder where I store all the character files and the character rigs. Then I'll have an environments folder where I store environments or maybe even environmental assets. And then I have props where I store props in the scene. So this could be things like chairs I've modeled, glasses, books, or anything else that might be appearing in the scene that doesn't fit into one of the above categories. Moving down in the scene structure. Now, this is where you really need to think about future proofing because you may want to add shots, remove shots, or whatever. And you can totally break your process if you just name everything 1, 2, 3, 4, because then you have to go back and insert things in between. So what I recommend doing is scene 01A. That way, when you move to scene 2, if you ever decide in the future you want to insert something in between, you can just go scene 01B. You'll keep your folder structure organized, and you'll keep everything organized visually and both in the timeline, making it much easier to accommodate for future changes. And then I generally have a archive folder at the bottom where I'll archive old ideas, old scenes, old projects, old materials, because more than often than not, I have found that sometimes I return to old ideas and decide I need to import something from one of those elements into my scene. So it's great to still have those. That's kind of a basic of how I'll organize a folder structure when going into a production. As usual, thank you for watching, and tag me in your creations at Southern Shoddy on Instagram and Twitter so that I can see what you've made. If you're interested in supporting the channel or getting some project files, I do have a Patreon and products that I sell. Links in the description below.